From the outside, our family looked like the picture of perfection. My husband David, a diligent lawyer, and I, Karen, a successful interior designer, had built a life in the idyllic suburb of Maplewood. Our teenage children, Ava and Ethan, were thriving, and we were proud of the beautiful home we'd created together. Little did our friends and neighbors know that behind our smiles and white picket fence, our family was coming apart at the seams. The digital age had taken its toll on our connections. My husband, always buried in work emails and social media, barely had time for me or the kids. I tried to make up for the loneliness by turning to online support groups, but before I knew it, I was addicted to social media. I'd spend hours scrolling through other people's lives, posting about our own perfect family, all the while feeling hollow inside. One day, our neighbor Laura invited me over for a cup of coffee. As we sat on her porch, I couldn't help but feel envious of her strong bond with her teenage son, who seemed genuinely engaged in their conversation. "How do you do it, Laura?" I asked, longing for that same connection with my own children. "It's all about being present, Karen," she replied, taking a sip of her coffee. "These days, we have to make a conscious effort to put down our devices and truly listen to each other." Her words struck a chord within me, and I began to pay closer attention to my family's interactions. One evening, as I was scrolling through my feed, I overheard Ethan talking to his friend Jake on the phone. "I just can't take it anymore, Jake," he said, his voice cracking. "These people won't leave me alone." It was then that I began to realize that my children might be struggling too. Meanwhile, Ava had grown more distant, often locked in her room for hours on end. One night at dinner, I tried to strike up a conversation, asking her about her day at school. "It was fine," she muttered, her eyes glued to her phone. I glanced at David, who was equally engrossed in his own device, and a pang of sadness washed over me. Determined to mend the frayed threads of our family, I made it my mission to create opportunities for meaningful connection. I organized game nights, family outings, and even a weekend getaway, but it seemed like our devices always found a way to distract us from each other. It wasn't until I discovered Ava's secret online life that the gravity of our situation truly hit home. As I sat there, scrolling through her provocative photos and risky interactions, I knew that something had to change. If we were going to save our family, we needed to confront our digital demons head-on and rediscover the power of true connection. Ava had always been our firecracker, full of spirit and determination. But lately, she'd grown distant and sullen. One day, while she was at school, I found her tablet unlocked and decided to take a look, hoping to understand what was going on. What I found shocked me to my core. My beautiful daughter had been posting provocative pictures online, sharing her secrets with strangers, and putting herself in harm's way. I felt my heart sink as I scrolled through the endless stream of inappropriate comments from people Ava barely knew. Realizing that I needed to talk to her about it, I waited until she returned from school. "Ava, we need to talk about your online activity," I said hesitantly, hoping not to push her further away. She rolled her eyes, clearly annoyed. "What about it, Mom? It's my life. I can do whatever I want." "But Ava, it's not safe," I pleaded, trying to make her understand the gravity of the situation. "These people don't care about you. They just want to take advantage of your vulnerability." As I sat there, stunned, I realized that my own digital addiction had blinded me to my children's pain. I knew I had to talk to David, but when I tried to bring up the subject, he brushed me off, absorbed in his phone. Desperate, I decided to confront him at his office. "David, we need to talk," I said, tears streaming down my face as I showed him Ava's pictures and recounted Ethan's conversation. He looked at me, his eyes wide with disbelief, and for the first time in a long time, he truly saw me. "I can't believe this is happening to our family," he whispered, clearly shaken by the revelation. "We need to do something about it, Karen. We need to be there for our kids." Together, we devised a plan to address the issues our family was facing. We decided to implement a digital detox, banning all devices during family time and setting clear boundaries for their use. But it quickly became apparent that the road to recovery would not be an easy one. Ethan's struggles continued to weigh heavily on him, despite our efforts to be more present in his life. One evening, after a particularly heated argument with a cyberbully, Ethan broke down in tears. "I just don't know what to do anymore, Mom," he sobbed, burying his face in my shoulder. "It's like they can get to me no matter where I go." As our family's dark secrets continued to unravel, it became increasingly clear that we couldn't navigate this storm alone. Determined to find a way to heal our shattered connections, we sought the help of a family therapist who specialized in the impact of digital technology on relationships. Little did we know that this decision would mark the beginning of a transformative journey, one that would ultimately bring our family closer together than ever before. As a family, we knew we needed help. We found a family therapist, Dr. Wilson, who specialized in digital addiction and its impact on relationships. Our first session was eye-opening. Dr. Wilson encouraged us to share our thoughts and feelings, and as we listened to each other's stories, I saw a glimmer of hope in my family's eyes. "We need to establish boundaries for our devices and prioritize real-life connections," Dr. Wilson advised. "It's essential that you make time for each other and engage in activities that foster genuine bonding." Taking her advice to heart, we began to eat dinner together every night, sharing our days and laughing like we used to. One evening, as we sat around the table, David asked Ethan about his recent science project. "I've been working on it for weeks," Ethan said, a hint of pride in his voice. "I'm trying to create a more efficient solar panel using nanotechnology." "That's amazing, Ethan." Ava chimed in, genuinely interested in her brother's work. As our family slowly began to reconnect, David and I started going for walks in the evenings, hand in hand, rediscovering the love that had brought us together in the first place. "I've missed this, Karen," David said one night, as we strolled under the moonlit sky. "I've missed us." Slowly, our family began to heal. Ethan confided in us about the cyberbullying he'd been enduring, and with our support, he found the courage to stand up to his tormentors. "I reported them to the school, Mom," he told me one afternoon, relief evident in his voice. "I couldn't have done it without you and Dad." Ava, realizing the dangers of her online behavior, decided to channel her energy into more positive pursuits, like volunteering at a local animal shelter. "I've been helping out with the dogs, Mom," she excitedly shared one day. "It's been so rewarding, and I've made some amazing friends." Together, we faced the challenges of the digital age head-on, emerging stronger and more connected than ever before. And though the journey was far from easy, it taught us the invaluable lesson that true connections are built not through screens, but through love, understanding, and the willingness to be there for one another. As we continued attending therapy sessions and practicing open communication, our family grew closer and more resilient. One evening, as we all gathered for a movie night, I couldn't help but marvel at the transformation we'd undergone. With laughter filling the air and my loved ones by my side, I knew that, despite the obstacles we'd faced, We'd managed to rebuild the connections that truly mattered. And in that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought us back together.